China has become the center of this silver squeeze, which has sent costs through the roof there. We'll talk about what happened and how it will affect the price of silver around the world as we look around. Prices for silver are going up, and I think that what's going on in China has something to do with it. There are a lot of industry uses for silver that started in China, so I've said many times that we should keep an eye on what they do. I think what we're seeing here is part of that. People I follow, and I've recently talked about this, include Oriental Ghost on X. He's been in a lot of interesting news lately. The price of silver is beginning to move apart. This has happened many times in the last year or two. He posts reports from the Shanghai Gold Exchange and the Futures Exchange, and we usually see that difference. The most recent report we see is from the last day of the month, and the difference in price between the world price and the Shanghai Gold Exchange price for silver has actually shrunk. There is still a bit of a gap there, but what's really interesting is where the price of raw silver has come to. Recently, there's been a lot of activity there, and of course, raw silver. In China, I can best explain it as having 15 of these in one bar. If you will, these are their contract-size bars. There aren't many of them right now because people are hoarding them, and we all know that an industry needs a lot of silver. There are more than 10,000 ways to use silver, so that's what's going on there. There are a lot of different types of prices that we can use to figure out how much silver costs. Even the spot price can change by a few cents based on who reports it, but this is a much bigger change that's making China an arbitrage opportunity. Although different sellers will list a slightly different silver spot price here in the US, it is much lower than what's going on in China right now. Visit my friends at Summit Metals. They pay for the service. However, before you buy from Summit Metals or any other precious metal company, you should do your own research and know what you're doing in terms of where the silver price is going to go or not go. This goes for anything you hear on this channel as well. Mountain Metals, my friends, knows that silver is more than just its price. Check them out and their website. You can find the link in the text below. I'm going to get a couple of posts from Oriental Ghost because this is so interesting. You may remember the post or video I just made where I said the price of raw silver was about $52 and change. Now it's $17.99 according to the most recent report for September 30th. Wow, that's a huge rise. I think that comes from news that was written in this community and was broken by Silver Slayer. I'll talk about some of that news and give it a little more detail. So this post he talked about is about China's investment funds and how these ETF companies there have pretty much stopped dealing, which means that premiums are going through the roof because there was a lot of demand for silver futures exposure. New orders to China's Huxia Silver Exchange Traded Fund Link were stopped on September 30th, 2025. It means that there will be no more new applications. On October 1st, 2025, the exchange price of silver around the world reached $47.40 an ounce. This is a 50% rise from the start of the year. Now, we know that's because of a shortage. We've seen it 5 years in a row in the solar and technology industries. But it has really driven up prices and premiums to $100 an ounce, which is because of the extra cost of physical delivery in China because of 30-day backlogs. Now, there are also supply constraints, backwardation, and state-level hoarding in Asia, which suggests that it could make the current silver bull run stronger without causing instant price spikes around the world. Remember that this is only one part. China is important. This account is one of the reasons I follow it. He's very closely connected to what's going on. That's interesting, but I think what he said after that post is even more convincing. That the public company Shengda is quietly holding 10,000 tons of silver, which has sent its stock price through the roof, exceeding its daily limit. It is also known that Xingtong saved 20,000 tons of silver for 20 years. In secret, some of these businesses have been buying silver, which is what's happening. Some of them are aware of the shortages and are trying to get as much as they can while they still can, so that their trade doesn't get messed up. So I think that's pretty interesting to see. It's clear that Xingtong is a buyer with ties to the government because of the way these separate purchases have added up. I already talked about this on the channel about how many Chinese state-run businesses import unrefined silver. This way, it doesn't get reported as traded in ounces, but they're actually refining it there. As I said before, raw silver is already refined, but it's in bars or not in its final form like this silver coin. But I think that can only be good for prices. It might not be good for people who want to buy silver. But it does mean that prices are likely to go up even more because this is a different kind of squeeze. I don't know what version of the squeeze we're in right now. Some say it's a silver squeeze 3.0, but there have been a lot of dot releases in between. This could lead to a wider situation in terms of holdings of silver because of the pressure on the market, which is also what has caused the price of raw silver to go up because of a lack of supply, and China is where a lot of manufacturing takes place. Since the mine produces about 26,000 tons a year, this supports the idea of strategic stockpiling, which could cause prices to go up by draining Western markets like the COMEX. there are arbitrage opportunities in dealing with these prices, which is why it might move to Singapore, Hong Kong, and other places in the East. Eventually, this will make the COMEX and LBMA useless. I believe that taking power away from them in some way is kind of their goal, at least for now, especially if there's a depletion that we're starting to see even more of over there. It will be interesting to see how that plays out, but that's what's happening here, and you know, the high-tech supply chain. It's also easy to post, and even if the price goes up, silver has to be bought or everything will stop. As he says, the price of silver probably won't go back down to $35. I've been saying the same thing, and when this is all over, which no one knows when that will be, they'll probably save some kind of consolidation pullback and normalcy in the price, but it probably won't be $35 anytime soon, if ever again. Personally, I don't think it will drop below 30, even in the worst case situation. But after reading this and thinking about other factors like how much of it can be backed up and improved if that's the case, and considering that China is a big mining country with many ways to get silver and a lot of it being produced, I don't think that analysis is necessarily correct, but we'll see how it plays out. Regardless, this is interesting news, and what's going on in China is what I think the big number is, the price of raw silver, not the $100 premium. The difference of almost $10 from the current spot price of silver in the Western world is interesting. I don't know how this will play out or how much of an impact it will have overall, but it can't hurt the price, so we'll see how it goes. Silver Slayer covered this in his video data. I'm a little bit late on it. There's so much going on in the world of precious metals. You know, it's hard to keep up with all the latest news and happenings, but let me know what your thoughts are about this news about silver in China. And where do you think you think it'll normalize anytime soon, or do you think it will get worse? It seems like it could get worse, and if it does, I'm going to report on it here. But again, I don't think it's a $100 silver price, but I think it's related to at least what they're saying here. It has to do with the premiums and delivery premium in China, and backlogs are increasing now a month long rather than a couple of weeks. That's big news. So let me know what your thoughts are. I like to bring you the latest news in the world of precious metals and analysis. So if you enjoy what I do here, I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel, and I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.